I hate to just stress finances because that is not enough to make everything okay. The other part is I think that you should take leadership in making sure that our romantic relationship is strong, because if you're not here during the week when I'm spending all this time with the kids, that means that when you do get home, you have to spend time with the kids and spend time with me to make me feel special. You better figure it out. It better not never be on me to plan a date night or to figure out where we're going.
That's true.
You better figure it out, and you better make sure that you do what you can to make sure that I feel special and taken care of. Because if I'm taking care of all of them, or not all of them, I ain't having 50 kids. If I'm taking care of the kids and the household and working, who's taking care of me? Now the 100% or the extra 70% that you got, whatever is left over from your job, whatever mental capacity you have, that you need to be pouring all of that back into me.
That's real.
I need words of affirmation. I need gifts. I need quality
I appreciate
time.
you. I see you doing this thing, and I appreciate you. What up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon, and I am joined today by the magnificent Tiandra, my partner and co-host.
Hey y'all, Brandon already said my name, but it's Tiandra.
Yes. And take tree.
No, wait, what's wrong with that? Keep it how it is.
You want to give it like that?
Yeah. Can we keep it like it was? First kiss. You know that song by Pretty Ricky?
It sounds familiar.
I sang all the wrong lyrics. I think it's like, can we make it like it was?
Oh, okay.
Pretty Ricky. You
was a Pretty Ricky fan, weren't you?
I was. I had the explicit version too.
Ooh. Hey, like I was saying, welcome back to another episode of the Buffet Podcast, where we continue to give you that endless food for thought. Welcome to episode 79. We appreciate y'all tuning in, whether y'all listening to the audio, whether y'all watching it on YouTube. And if you're watching it on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe and follow your people so you can be updated when we drop. Yes.
Yeah. You want to get started with this? Amuse bouche?
Yes, indeed. We're getting right into it with the video, and as soon as she pulls it up.
I look over my marriage. If I were to judge it in year 5 or year 10, there was never 50-50. Somebody was always giving way more. Someone always needed a different kind of thing. You have to evolve with it. And so, yeah, there were times when I felt like I was 70% in and he was doing 30% because of the choices that I made in the terms of how I wanted our family to look. Yeah. I had to take my foot off of my career gas pedal, never putting on the brake, but slowing up a little bit. Those are the natural compromises that are required. And I feel bad when I see young people giving up on their relationships because there are periods of hard. So I think it's important for us to be honest in those conversations, not to glamorize what a partnership feels like, because then young people quit too soon. They quit before they've really, played out the full scenario. If I look...
Spoken by the wisdom of Miss Michelle Obama.
Excuse
me, Mrs.
Forever
Michelle Obama.
First
Put some
Lady.
respect on her. Put some respect on her name. She's a married woman. We probably we're a little late by this clip. Some of y'all may have already seen it. Maybe you haven't, but we felt this was pertinent for the content that we like to make.
Yeah. So let's talk about 50-50. From what she said and from what you experienced, do you believe in 50-50?
Yes. Well, I believe in the idea. When you say 50-50, do you mean like literally 50-50, or do you mean like in the concept of like there is going to be some like equal burden placed on both parties in the relationship, whether that be financially, or in this case, it sounds like it was more just like work ethic, and not work ethic, but just like ability to do more in the relationship in specific periods of time.
I don't know what you're asking me.
Okay, well,
what I'm asking is, do you believe in 50-50 as it stands? Like the idea that both parties are going to be able to give 50% of themselves. at all times, or at the majority of the time.
Well, I would hope it would be 100, but like I think the general like theme behind the 50-50, I think it's I rock with it. I agree with it in the sense that like I believe that it is something that, you know, both parties have to contribute an equal amount to. In general, obviously, as Michelle Obama said, there are and probably will be times where one partner is shouldering the majority of something at some point in time. That's just, you know, like that's just how it works. So in general, yes, I'm sure we can get down to like the minutiae and like, oh, it should be 100 to 100 and all that, but 50-50 in general for like how it is used in conversation. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think, well, I guess it might be helpful for us to define 50-50 because I think when I think of 50-50, I think of the idea of reciprocity, especially beyond the stakes of marriage. Like, you got to show up 50% of the time. It's really about reciprocity and about the idea that if I'm going to put in effort, energy, and time, I also expect you to put in effort, energy, and time and meet me at least halfway, right? No one wants to feel like they're pouring into a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. Like, I'm just going to keep pouring. This shit is never going to get full because you're not contributing as well, and there's a hole in the bottom because I'm never getting filled back up, right? Or like I'm only pouring into your bucket and my bucket is empty because there's nobody who is reciprocating and giving anything there. So that's typically what I think of when I think of 50-50. And on that principle alone, I agree with it. I do think that there needs to be reciprocity. There needs to be a space where we're both contributing time, energy, and effort.
That's what I imagine when people say 50-50. Like, I'm doing for you as I should and as I want, and like what I feel like I shouldn't have to ask, or I feel like it should come with the territory. Just like as I'm pouring into you, you will be pouring into me as well. Because if it's not like the reciprocity, as you said, like is it a relationship? Like what is? Are you? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Like, who will want to be in such an inequitable? I struggle to call it a relationship because I don't think that's what it would be. So yeah, I think we're aligned in that aspect.
Okay, so then what do you think about what she said about times where it is 70-30 or
I think that's
80-20? Damn.
Yeah, I think that happens. I think it happens. I think it has happened and continues to happen more than people have ever acknowledged. And it takes somebody like the former, but in all our hearts, First Lady, to come out and be like, hey, I ain't like this nigga for a hot minute because I was doing a lot of shit and he wasn't doing as much. And to hear that, and I feel like we've all heard bits and pieces of it, but it was said in such a negative tone, like, this is why the relationship didn't work out because I was giving 70 and he was only giving 30. And, you know, and so like the story is built up that like, if that's how your relationship is happening, if someone's giving more than the other, then that is the grounds for the termination of the relationship. And I think that's what a lot of us have internalized, you know, consciously or subconsciously over these last couple generations about relationships. And to hear her say it, and I agree with her, and I feel like that's probably one of the reasons that marriages look so horrible, like the numbers look so horrible these days, because there is no longer an expectation of hardship within a relationship. Like, there is no expectation that like, oh, shit's going to be fucked. It's possible that shit's going to be fucked at some point during a relationship. But like, the point of being married is to work through those things and get to the other side stronger. I think now, just when we hit that wall, people just like, this is it. It must not have been meant to be. Because if you was my one and only, we wouldn't be in a situation where it's 70-30 or 60-40 or 100-0 or 90-10. I don't know what 100 and 0 looks like, but somebody dead. I don't know.
Somebody's dead. That's so dramatic. Yeah. I think that's very big. I mean, the thing that I'm thinking about, especially with some additional context around this clip, a lot of what she said about the time in their relationship that was the most challenging was when they first had kids. And as they had kids, you know, her career took a back seat to being a mom and having that as a priority. And his career was accelerating in different ways that required him to be out of the house. So like in the first book, which if you haven't read is a good book, she talks about how she has to, it's thick, but it's not that thick. She talks about how she has to set up boundaries for herself to make it more manageable for her. So it's like, you can't get here for dinner. We're going to have dinner at this time. You can get here and have it with us, or you're not going to get here and have it with us. That's up to you. That's based off of your schedule. We're not going to sit around and wait up for you to come home to be able to have dinner. If the kids are hungry, we're going to eat. The kids need to go to bed at a certain time. They all like, that's just the way that this household has to run. And if you can't be here to participate in these things, you know, I'm not pleased with that. I don't like it, but I'm not going to rearrange our whole schedule and mess stuff up to accommodate you.
Kids need a routine.
Yeah, these kids need a routine. And so I imagine that the 70% for her was all of the childcare, all of the household responsibilities, as well as managing a career, as well as trying to be a supportive partner. And I can imagine how that is a very clear 70% when the other person isn't even there, right? Like, it's not like you're sitting on the couch not doing anything. It's like you're physically not present and able to contribute in this way. And so I feel like the way that it could make sense for me is if in that 30%, or I guess I should say this, it could be 70-30 in some areas, or my perception of it could be 70-30 in some areas, but it needs to be closer to equitable in other areas. So like, can you contribute in the household because you're not here? Of course not. But what can you do? Can you, I don't know what else you can do, but what else can you do that would make it feel a little bit more equitable? And another area of life where we're partners, what is something that you can contribute? So maybe it's the financial part. Like maybe now I don't have to work or think about working in terms of like earning an income, because now that you're not here, but you're giving financially, that part is alleviated. Maybe you can manage some other household thing, like maybe you take care of appointments, or like you have some other task in some other way in which you're contributing. Because I can imagine if it felt like I was doing 70% of everything that is required to be able to take care of myself, manage our relationship, and take care of our kids, something is going to fall. And the thing that probably is going to fall that's not going to feel as pressing is the relationship. Right. So maybe now I can't think about date nights or doing anything special or surprising you. You're going to have to take that on, big buddy. Like, you're going to have to plan birthdays. Like, you're going to have to find some mental space to be able to do that, or else we're really going to suffer during this time.
You raised a good point. So to the point you said that like it has to be equitable in another aspect. So it's like if it's like 70-30 on the household, like taking care of the kids and doing all those things, a way for it to make it more equitable would be, to your point, like if he took more, like all or most of like the financial burden, so you can just focus on doing that thing and not have to worry about taking care of the kids and making sure the dinner's ready, as well as you still got to go to work and make all this money to pay the bill and help pay the bills. I mean, I agree with that. I can't imagine someone who's doing 70%, who's doing 70% of the household chores, and then they still got to go to work and then pay 50%. 60%, 70%. I mean,
but it happens.
I know it do, but I'm saying, like, if that happens, I feel like the acceleration towards this not turning out well would be, you know, so it's like, yeah, you may be doing, as opposed to, oh yeah, I'm doing 75% of the household tasks and taking care of the kids, but I ain't got to worry about paying the bills. I feel like that'll alleviate some of the pressure. I'm not saying it's not gonna make it go away, but like the bar towards this ain't working is going to be a little bit lower. You know, so the ceiling is a little bit higher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I also think the other part, because I hate to just stress finances, because that is not enough to make everything okay. The other part is, I think that you should take leadership in making sure that our romantic relationship is strong, because if you're not here during the week when I'm spending all this time with the kids, that means that when you do get home, you have to spend time with the kids and spend time with me to make me feel special. You better figure it out. It better not never be on me to plan a date night or to figure out where we're going.
That's true.
You better figure it out. And you better make sure that you do what you can to make sure that I feel special and taken care of. Because if I'm taking care of all of them, or not all of them, I ain't having 50 little kids. If I'm taking care of the kids and the household and working, who's taking care of me? Now the 100% or the extra 70% that you got, whatever is left over from your job, whatever mental capacity you have, that you need to be pouring all of that back into me.
That's real.
I need words of affirmation. I need gifts. I need quality
I appreciate
time.
you. I see you doing this thing, and I appreciate you. And it makes sense because, like, if you're picking up all of this extra shit that me as your partner should be holding, like all that time that you no longer have to help with those things, you can redistribute like a percentage of that to this, at least like you got one thing you got to worry about now, and that's her.
Exactly. That if the one thing you have to worry about now is me, I better get the best of you. I ain't trying to hear no bullshit.
And, I mean, to my point earlier off the camera, that means that thing got to be thanging every time. You can't miss. You can't miss. You got one job, my boy.
Yes, babe. That's true. You do have one job. You have to show up. You got to give 100%. Because I think also off camera, Brandon was like, "Oh, Barack must be that guy."
Yeah, I was like, Barack must have been that guy, because I'm thinking it from like, if she didn't leave, considering this is the pressure she was under, or she didn't, she didn't want to leave. I was like, Barack must have been doing something right in order to like make her hesitate enough to like he was able to catch up and get back right.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there can be some truth to that, especially given what we just talked about, right? Like if you can't contribute in these other ways, you better find some way to continue to prove your value to this team, because we could struggle by ourselves.
That's true.
It is very much an economy of like, we can do bad all by ourselves. So you got to add some type of value here. But what I was saying in response to that is that it is also a choice that Michelle made to stay. There was some value in the situation for her beyond, maybe it was him, maybe it's the love and connection she felt for him, but it don't sound like that was the experience at that time. Or maybe it was the value that she had in family and like her experience growing up in a household with two parents and like the values that they imparted upon her. Maybe it was the choices that she made for what type of family she wanted to have. Like if she wanted to really be an active parent and be able to fully participate in the lives of her children, she recognized that it was either going to be her or Barack, and Barack clearly couldn't do it at that time. So she was going to have to be the one to do it, because that was the family that she envisioned for herself, or whatever vision they shared of like, this is how we want to raise our kids, something like that. So I think,
I would love to see that. I would love to have seen like the conversations they had to have, to like the negotiations that had to go, that had to happen for this to happen. Because like because I think you were saying that a lot of that 730 was like when he was like in the Senate and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, that's one thing. But what happens when it was like, hey, baby, I know, it was for the Senate and then my term is up and I'm supposed to be done. But hey, they hollering at me talking about something, I can be president, baby. So, and you was like, I thought it was about to be over. And then like a year, you about to have you back. And now you telling me it's about to be another 4 to 8 years. But like the world, like first you was like, people knew Barack, but no one really knew Barack. He was a senator, but senator, like who knows they senators like that. But the president, like that's not another level of pressure and scrutiny that they were gonna be in. And if you are already like at your last, like you already like, nigga, I'm tired, like I'm doing all this work, and you can just come to me like, hey, I need you to hold it down another damn near another decade, and also the world is watching. You down?
No. That's why she said no at first. Because you're right. That's a lot. That is a lot to ask.
What was that negotiation? What was that? Barack had to be that guy. Do you have to be able to sell that?
I think it's connection to mission and vision.
I mean, that too.
It has to be a little bit of like, babe, this is bigger than us. Like, yes, it's us and our family, but if we make this sacrifice, think about the impact that we'll be able to have on the world, on things that are larger and greater than us. So that's why I feel like it has to be values driven as well, because just me feeling like we're meant to be together, loving you, goo goo gaga.
That's not enough. You gotta have it's gotta be a belief in the higher power type stuff.
That is not enough.
It's gotta be something bigger than us that's at stake at this point. I hear that. I hear, but man, that those series of talks, because it's damn near, it cannot have been one. It could not have been one talk. Those series of talks over however long it took, man, them things must have been legendary. I'm pretty sure like negotiators can learn a lot from whatever happened during those talks, because it had to be something serious, something crazy, something wild. No.
It had to be. Barack is charismatic, but they're both former lawyers, so I'm sure that they are very good at making
how their arguments go.
Yeah,
must be the argument, counter argument. Like, ha, you use the word differently. Oh my God, them poor kids. Them kids. Them kids' partners. Boy, they in for it. They learned at the feet.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we got on kind of side tangent a little bit there, but
we did. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what this brings up, was it the main topic?
Course?
The main course, 20 minutes in, about relationships and equity and the importance of it.
Yes. Ew.
What happened?
I felt like my teeth touched the microphone.
It might have.
The little foam part of the mic. Why are you sniffing it?
Maybe smell and taste are very close together.
They are.
So anyway,
okay.
So the importance of having equity within the relationship, to our earlier point, that we agree with Michelle that she feels. I can't remember the exact word she said, but pretty much she said she feels sorry for like our generation of people because we give up too soon. Mm-hmm. Do we agree? Do you agree?
Do I agree that we give up too soon?
Yeah.
Yes.
And by we mean like
millennials
and Gen X, I guess, because I'm pretty sure Barack and are they Gen X?
No, what's Gen X? The one before us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are they Gen X?
Yeah, they're not millennials.
I know they're not millennials, but I'm saying, are they Gen X or are they?
They're
not boomers. I don't think they boomers. They might be on the back end.
Maybe, but
it's probably or the very early Gen X, probably. Yeah. So. Okay, let's go with millennials and Zers, I guess, because some of these Zers are 23 now. Some of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that we can find ourselves in a situation where we give up too quickly. But that's also based off of what we've seen. We've seen more relationships in whether it be celebrity relationships, relationships within our family or in our community, in your church, stuff like that. You see more people get divorced, and you see more people get divorced with the explanation of irreconcilable differences, right? And that is an umbrella term to me that just means we had some shit we couldn't figure out.
Yeah, we couldn't agree on something.
Yeah, like we couldn't reach a compromise. Neither one of us was willing to accommodate the other person based off of this one thing. And so I think if that is a reason that we see en masse for people to end their relationship, then yeah, we probably are ending relationships sooner than, I don't know, I don't want to use the word necessary, but maybe we're ending relationships sooner than what was possible or what is possible for that relationship to continue. I don't know if I like that phrasing, but
so we don't exhaust all of our options before we decide to end a relationship.
Divorce is always an option, I guess, is the difference now than it was in generations past. And divorce seems like an option that people are more willing to use, or ending a relationship even at a lower stake stage, right? Like, you could be dating somebody for a little bit, they show one thing that you don't particularly like, and it's over for that person.
That reminds me of something I saw earlier. I'm gonna talk about it, but I think, to your point, that throughout time, divorce has gone from ain't no such thing to a king had to invent a whole new religion in order to allow this shit to happen, to we don't do that. Still, it's very taboo. It had to be like some like wild earth shaking thing. And even then, the expectation was like, yo, figure that shit out. To like, it's no longer the last option. I wouldn't say it's the first option, but I feel like it's definitely in the top 3. So it's like, we're going to try this one thing. That one thing don't work out. All right, we out. So I do think that people reach for the divorce a little too quickly, a little too loosely. It's played, very fast and loose these days, to the point that marriage no longer holds the weight or significance that it used to be, in my opinion, in ages past. Because it's something that's so easily and quickly getting, people get out of it so soon, so quickly. So it's kind of like how much weight do you put on marriage anymore? Is it still a pillar of society anymore? If it's something that you can just walk away from over irreconcilable differences. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I also think that we give it too much. And to the point, for the context, that is true. That's all we really see now, especially now in this social media age. And to circle it back around to what I saw, what I was going to reference earlier today, I saw a video on IG. It was a woman telling a story about her first date with a man. And so she said, she was like, yeah, she got there first, like a minute earlier or something like that. She valeted her car. She got her car valeted because, that's how she get down. And then like a minute later, he pulls up, but he parks across the street and pulls up. He's like, hey, she was like, oh, everybody don't do that. So, it's what it is. You come through, perfect gentleman. They had 3 courses, paid for the meal. He brought her flowers, treated her well, On the way out, the dude was like, she was getting a car from the valet, and she was like, card of credit. She was like, all right, I'm paying with a card. And she was like, I feel some type of way because the man didn't even try to pay for my valet parking. And she was like, and now I feel a little, I'm kind of turned off from it. And I don't even know am I crazy? I'm thinking about, not pursuing this any further because like this thing, he did everything else perfectly, but because he didn't pay for my valet parking, that's never happened to me before. And I'm kind of, I'm feeling the ways about it and let it go. I'm like, that could have been your man right there.
That's true.
And I was like, over valet parking. So when you said that sometimes even at a lower stakes level than marriage, we are just writing off people off of like way sooner. I was like, damn, like just based off the strength of how the date went, he don't get a second shot.
That's true. The benefit of the doubt. And I mean, I guess to me, it always comes down to like values. What is actually important to you? What does him not paying the valet signify to you? Does that signify that he won't protect and provide? Does that signify to you that he's not considerate and won't extend himself, to make sure that you're covered and cared for? Like, what does that signify to you? Because if it's just, oh, he didn't spend no extra money. It's like, girl, he already spent money. So clearly, you know that he's willing to spend money on you. So what value is being called into question here based off the fact that he didn't pay for valet? But also, you have to consider the fact that he didn't pay for valet for himself. So clearly, this isn't something that's of import to him. Yeah. Like, he doesn't care about this. He can learn to accommodate you with that. Like, if y'all start to travel places together and you prefer valet, I'm sure he's willing to accommodate you for valet eventually, the majority of the time. But you also may be willing to go to his side and be like, actually, babe, I really don't care. We can park and walk and like, it can be fine. That to me is not so glaring of a red flag because it doesn't sound like it connects to any value you have. And if it did connect to any value that you have, then it would be worth you evaluating if that value didn't show up in another place. Because the only thing that I can think of, like I said, is like a protect and provide. Like, I want a man to protect and provide and to be considerate of me. He brought you flowers. He paid for the meal. Y'all had a good time. Like, he's
treated you well.
Yeah, like stuff, yeah. There isn't any other provision that he is like indebted to you or like owed to give you.
Yeah, of the first day. And I guess you raise a point about like what value is this linked to for her, and I will wonder, what do you how does that work on the other side as well? So it's like, if this is something that like how do I explain that? So it's like, as a man, we have to be cognizant of how we are perceived by the person we're trying to court. We want to show them our best foot. We want them to see us in a positive light. We want them to like us. We want us to, we want us to fuck. We want them to fuck with us. And, so I wonder, like, how much of that thought process is on a woman? Like, how much are women thinking about, like, I want to show my best foot forward. I want to place myself in a position that this man, like, wants to continue to date me and continue to provide this provisioning and things of that nature. And like, how can I best position and align myself to show those best parts of me to to him. And I wonder, like, what does she think men would think if she cutting off people behind like a valet? Like what? Like,
I don't think that people think that there are any consequences to their actions. So I don't know if she thought about that before she decided to make that video. And I also don't know. I don't know that I approach dating with I want to show the best version of myself mindset. Like, of course I want this person to like me and I want us to get along, but I don't feel any pressure to put out a representative. Like, I felt very much like I want to show up as myself and want to make sure, like, I want to, let's just see. That's how I feel like most women feel about dating. It's like, let's just see, because the stakes are significantly lower for you as a woman. There we go. All you have to do really is to show up and look good. And they're fretting over that. And of course, like, there's thoughts around like, what should I wear? How should I show up? How should I present myself? Because that's going to be very important to the man upon first glance. And I think, will determine even the conversation and how things go moving forward. How you look, that perception, that presentation is going to be very important. But I don't know if there is any serious cultivation or consideration given to like, oh, how do I show up as the best version of myself outside of how I look?
And I guess that brings another question to me is I wonder, do you think that has an impact on how women are being treated within these dates? So I wonder, I guess I would wonder if the women who think more about how they present in that manner have better outcomes for relationships. So like versus the woman who just shows up and all I care about, I'm just showing up and I'm just trying to look good. I feel like I just look good outcomes.
Yes.
And versus women who show up, well, I look good and I got some substance behind me and I care about presenting that to you in a favorable way, they get those type of outcomes. So I wonder if more, I guess, women, if what you say is true, consider that when they go out to date in a dating, things will work out a little bit better. They'll get more of the outcomes in which they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I think so, but I think I don't think the market value for most women is based off of their personality. Men don't see personality when they're approaching you. Like, men are not like attracted to your personality off rip. They're attracted to how you look. And so upon the approach, all you really need is to look good. Now, beyond that, to go, and the approach will get you to the date, right? Depending upon the conversation that happens in between. But it's also about if that man values that. Like, you could be beautiful and have a good personality, but if that doesn't mean anything to that man, then it's like, she was just cute, or like that, her being cute is enough for me to be interested in her. I mean,
I hear that, but I'm not seeing, are you saying that that's the reason why a woman wouldn't care about presenting their best version of stuff in a first date, because like they don't know whether or not a man values that part of her?
No, I'm just saying that isn't something that is typically valued of women. Like, if your presentation is the thing that is valued, then that's the thing that you put time, energy, and effort into, and your personality is more of a take me as I am kind of thing. It's not something that you actively cultivate, is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily that you don't have a good personality, but it's not something that you're investing time, energy, and effort into. It's something that you're just like, I show up, this is me, you like it or you don't, take it or leave it.
So I wonder, you say, so women's in their mind is like, I show up, I'm look the best I get, take me as I am, I'm looking good, I'm not thinking about nothing else, because all I know is that this is all you really care about, is looking good. Flip it. Is the man version of that is, I got the money, yes, I got the thing, why are you worried about my personality and what I do? And now, but are we not hearing and seeing all these women complaining about, oh, it don't matter how much money you got. If you lame, you lame. I think it's the same thing for women as well. Like, it's very like,
yeah,
it's one of the less spoken about in the grand scheme of things. Amongst men, we like, they know we talk about that, a lot of pretty women are boring as fuck. Like they look good and that's all they are, because they have no fucking personality. Like, you try to talk to them and hit you back with one word responses. You can't hold a conversation with them. So it's like, well, if I can't have no conversation with them, the very least I can do is I can hit. So let me that's off the table. I'm going this route now because I'm going to get some. I'm leaving here with something.
Their personality is being pretty.
That is not a personality.
For some women, that is their personality.
But I'm saying, like, not having a personality and just looking good only works as long as you look good.
That's true.
And even then, you like only a certain type of you only want to get a certain type of person that's going to take that, like, over on a long term. Like, so like I'm looking for someone who's spending the rest of my life with to help raise my children and our children and be my partner through life. Somebody who has a personality, or someone who just looks good. Like, I'm not
I hear what you're saying, but there are trophy wives. There are women who do. I mean, if you're a woman who your personality is to be pretty, that has to be the end goal for you, is to be a trophy wife, because then at least you're guaranteed some sort of security, some minimal security.
No, until the next model comes out.
I mean, yeah, but at least in the security that you do have, you're provided for, and in the case that you do get divorced, there should be some type of.
I hope so.
Back end.
I hope so. I hope so, but I don't think I think pretty women are like the fresh NFL NBA players who think the money gonna come forever, and then they get injured and then they broke working at McDonald's, like, because they didn't plan, like they don't think that I'm going, like, at some point it's gonna run out for me, because it's a finite thing on this. I think the same thing happens when once they in it, they living that life, they forget, and it was like, I'm always gonna be able to pull this. I get to it at some point, and that some point comes when it's too late. So if pretty is being your personality, you got to do some more planning on the back end you need your exit strategy, because it's coming. You took somebody's spot. You pretty personality person, you took somebody's spot. Somebody who was older than you, who also thought that this is going to be here forever. You took their spot because you was younger. You don't, like, it's going to happen to you too.
It's unfortunate. What about these lame people with money?
They getting lame niggas with money outcomes.
What's the outcome? That's what I'm asking.
They getting finessed. We seeing videos of it. Oh, I've spent 5 racks. I flew her out, and then she want to get here and act like she don't want to have no sex. You getting finessed because you have no personality. You had to lead with your bread.
Yeah. Dang. Well,
you lame.
Yeah.
So it's like at this point, it's just like no one feels sorry for these dudes who's getting finessed by these dudes in that manner, and that specific manner. And like, there's some good dudes out here who trying to doing what they can on like the marriage tip, and so they get she divorced him, and of course a family court do what family court do when he get fleeced or whatever. Those happen, and those are unfortunate. But we're talking about like the dudes who just ain't got nothing. Like you just got money, and you leading with that. You think that's all you need in order to secure you a woman of substance or a woman who of value.
And that's not working out for you.
It's not, man. The person I think we're starting to find that the personality. I'm not going to say the personality weighs heavier than the finances, but the personality weighs heavier than what we were giving it. Yeah,
initially. And I think that that's a learning curve. I think that there are people who have to, if the finances was the thing for you at first, you get enough people with finances that it doesn't impact your happiness. You know how like there is the
happiness?
Yes. What is it called?
I can't remember. It's like a happiness cutoff ratio when it comes to like
finances.
Yeah, finances.
Like once
how much
you
money you
reach
make.
a certain amount of money, the more money that you make over that is not going to impact your happiness. Yeah. And it used to be like,
I want to say it was like 70, 80,000.
Yeah, it was like something like that. Like as soon as you hit that, like that's not, if you get more money, it's not going to do anything to impact your happiness. And I can imagine that the same is true if you are a person who is dating a man who is wealthy. It's like, a billionaire, a millionaire, and another billionaire all walk into the room, it's like, I had that before. Mm-hmm. Which one of y'all got a personality? Like, which one of y'all do I actually like and can get along with? I mean, think about, just saying that out loud made me think about Rihanna, right? Rihanna was dating that billionaire, that man who had all that money. Who she got a baby by? A$AP Rocky.
That's true.
Like, at the end of the day, the thing that is going to actually matter more and have an impact on your day-to-day life, you recognize, is the personality. It's the chemistry between you and that person. It's the values that you share with that other person. It's the family that you hope to create, their family, like their history. All of that stuff is going to actually matter more in terms of the day-to-day and in terms of the life that you build. The money means something. Don't get me wrong. The money means something and will have an impact on your life. So you should have a standard for money, but don't let the standard for money be the only thing that determines who is worthy of being in a relationship with, because you're probably going to miss out on a person who would be better suited for you but doesn't have X amount of money.
Yeah, because money comes and goes. It can be made. It's something that you have control to influence, to change. Mm-hmm. You can't change personality. You can't generally like if somebody is lame, or someone has like no, or and things of that nature, like it's significantly harder to unlame yourself than it is to make you some extra dollars.
Yes, but also
men and women.
Also, the thing about both of those things is about the motivation. So the quality that is the quality that has to be true across the board. Mm-hmm. Is like, if you're lame but you don't want to be lame anymore and you actually have a desire to improve your personality and make changes, then you can still be an active candidate, especially if I see you doing that work. If you're not making as much money now, but you have hopes to make more money in the future,
you have ambition.
Yes, you could be a potential candidate, especially if I see you putting in the time.
That's key. What you just said.
What?
Like if I see you doing the thing to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the part that makes all of the difference. So that ambition is very broad, but the ambition, motivation, values, whatever, if those things are already there, that certain kind of like it factor is there, you're someone who's work withable, because no one is going to be 100% of what you want or like come to you as a ready-made package. You're going to have to compromise on something. And so that is the one thing that I feel like you shouldn't compromise on, though. Like, someone having the ability to change and grow, that's the one thing that you shouldn't compromise on. Because if someone is stuck in their ways, they're just going to be stuck in their ways. Like, if that's something that they're stubborn, they're just comfortable where they're at, they don't have any desire to change, they aren't going to be influenced by you and your behaviors. They don't have any behaviors that you want to be positively influenced by. You're not going to be able to learn anything from them. Then that relationship is not going to feel as fruitful or fulfilling for you. So that's the one thing I would say you definitely gotta have.
I like that.
I feel like that was my final food for thought.
That's fair enough, because my final food for thought, because we smoothly transitioned into it, my final food for thought is money and provisioning and protection for men, and looking good for women. Those are all valuable and necessary, but that's only to get you through the door. That gets you in the room. What keeps you in the room is you who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you're willing to grow, whether you're willing to change, what are you willing to do once you're in the room? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can be in a room and then you just stand in the corner and don't do nothing, don't talk to nobody. Why are you here? Like, get out. Like, we're here to do. We're doing shit in this room. Mm-hmm. So it just gets you in the room, and you need it to stay in the room on the low ski. But like, in order to make any progress within the room, you have to do shit. You got to talk to people. You got to be able to talk to people. Mm-hmm. Life is about relationships.
It is.
And why would it be any different for perhaps the most important relationship of your life? That's my final food for thought.
Boom.
That being said, we have reached the end of episode 79 of the Buffet Podcast with moi and she.
So you're going to say toi.
Toi?
I don't
know French. We appreciate y'all tuning in.
Thank you for listening, laughing, and learning with us. You can follow us on Instagram. You can watch the pod on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your Google Play or wherever you get your podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Peace.